Algospeak review, part 2. This is going to cover chapter 2, which is about 20 to 30 pages. The first thing I got from this chapter was that TikTok uses literally everything about your video to figure out what it is and who to recommend it to. So as a creator, this means you should be hopping on trends and being very, very careful with how your content should be categorized. Like, don't make it a guessing game. You want it to know exactly who to feed your content to. That's how it knows, and it can spread it to as big of an audience as possible. Because remember, they have an incentive to push more creators out and get more views. The next thing that's good is the algorithmic pandering. So he defines this term as something when a creator minimizes their creative vision in order to pander to the algorithm to get pushed out more. And he cites a study that says essentially every creator does this, where they make their own creative vision go down in order to pander to the algorithm. And it makes sense because, I mean, if you want to get pushed out, you either have to intertwine your creative vision with the algorithm, or you just have to obey the algorithm entirely. He then goes on to define this term called the engagement treadmill. And essentially what this is, so you remember like last year when the term Riz was trending? That's why a ton of videos about Riz came out, because these creators were trying to pander to the algorithm on the engagement treadmill because Riz was a trending keyword. So they just made a ton of videos where they could use the trending keyword. So the ultimate thing you should learn from that like small little section there is that you should be making sure that your content fits into very specific and easily categorizable keywords, especially trending ones if you want your stuff to be pushed out. It's not a hard and fast rule, but it's a pattern that a lot of successful creators have identified and followed. I wrote a lot on the next section, but it's not really applicable to content creation as much as it is just interesting. So I'm going to still talk about it, but just know that. But he essentially talks about what causes things to trend, and specifically, since he's a linguist guy, you could almost call him an etymology nerd, he talks about language and how it trends. He notes this study where there's 5 groups. I won't go into specifically what they are, but the first group is the earliest group and the 5th group is the latest group. And essentially what you can tell almost every single time is that something will either stay, it'll either mark its spot in history, or it will completely vanish once the 5th group implements it. And this applies because think about how like when kids were saying skibbity and when adults started saying skibbity, now it's cringe and unfunny. That's essentially where that's coming from. The 5th group is like, he calls them laggards, and they're like the parents and the adults and the people who are not in the know. They're like the not cool ones. And this is really interesting and kind of useful if you want to almost like hack trends, or not hack trends, but you want to like make your own certain trend. And that is that a trend must be unobtrusive and frequent. Not only that, it must have some endurance factor. So frequent just means that it's used often enough to serve some purpose that people understand, right? So think like the sob and joy emoji. People use these because they depict an emotion. Then unobtrusive is just talking about how things are natural. So there's like this trend where the people were posting this chair emoji. That was some of the most obtrusive stuff ever. It's very forced. And so it could never have made it. And then just to wrap up, because I'm running out of time, the endurance factor is just ways that it can be used, right? So the term has to be actually usable to continue to be used. It makes sense if you think about it, but it's set out in words very well. I have a hard time covering all of it. Please go read the book. Chapter 2 is very good.